just YouTube. Go out of the case. Some cases they take to pieces and then they can bring all the pieces to him and okay? Thank you with the
Give it a second, I just got to reconnect Rumble, it says, but it's streaming on a bunch of them already. I'm just going to see if we can get Rumble going as well. You can talk to the camera, just tell them what we're going to do.
Yeah, cool. G'day guys, Rukshan here, coming to you live again from Jerusalem. We're back in Jerusalem. G'day guys, Rukshan here, coming to you live again. We're just getting this live going and just getting all the streaming platforms set up. So bear with us a moment while we get all this going. It's probably going to be a long live stream here from Jerusalem today as we take you guys around the old part of Jerusalem, the old city. So we were in Gaza, we just got back. We'll talk a little bit about that possibly today. And there's also a possibility we might be going back in again. So we'll discuss all that with you guys today, but yeah, we're just here. And we've got a few people that are going to be speaking to us as well as we're walking through the old city. So yeah, let's just show you some sights and sounds as we get this all going.
See, so basically people see this, there's comments from all the platforms, scroll on the side, so they'll be engaging, talking. And they hear us explaining it to you now.
Can we relate to them also if someone wants to ask a question?
He'll see all comments. Yeah. We can engage with them. Yeah.
Okay.
We will. We can stop and engage, or he'll see stuff. I'll let Rukshan know. Okay. Rukshan.
It's working, all good? We're good to go?
Are you on us?
I'm on you guys, yeah.
Welcome guys to the live stream on a tour of the old city here in Jerusalem that you've never had before. Trust me, I've done it a few times. We'll get you guys to introduce yourselves, how you want to be introduced to the audience.
Daniel Luria, the director of Ateret Kohanim, keeping Jerusalem in Jewish hands.
Born and bred in Australia.
Born and bred in Australia a number of years ago, and every so often still follows maybe a little bit of the Collingwood and football.
Okay, now we've lost half the stream. Cut that bit. Daniel is going to give you a tour. He's going to show you parts of Jerusalem today like you've never seen it before. And that's why it was so important. And Rukshan, this is his first time in the old city, so he's going to experience this for the first time like in real life. So there'll be a bit of commentary from Rukshan. Questions. You guys will be able to throw questions to Daniel or to whoever as we're going through as well. The idea is to be engaging, and we've got Brian of London.
Hello, Brian of London. I've been living here 17 years, and I don't come often enough to Jerusalem, so happy to jump in on Avi and barge in on this. It's fantastic.
Okay, so this is, guys, as part of our mission here in Israel, myself and Rukshan, israeluncut.com. And if you like what we're doing here and you want to support and help cover some of the costs, israeluncut.com. We're going to get Daniel to open up, and then we're going to jump in a car for a few minutes. We've got a bit with driving and then walking through the old city. We'll get to all of that. While I'm in the car, I'm going to share the stream on all the platforms around, so you guys can do that in the meantime. Daniel, I'll throw to you.
Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone. We're going to be seeing basically what the battle is all over. I mean, we're fighting in Gaza, but it's all over this. The Arab world calls it the El Aqsa flood. Everything at some point is all about Jerusalem. Belongs to us, doesn't belong to us, sovereignty, not sovereignty. So this organization, Ateret Konim, is involved in keeping Jerusalem in Jewish hands. So we're going to see the heart of Jerusalem that the Arab world wants on one hand, and we in the Jewish world and large parts of the Christian world, of course, that understands that we are the indigenous people here, how it has to stay in Jewish hands. So we'll come eventually into the old city to see what is today called the Muslim Quarter, I think, although that was the main Jewish area. But it's amazing that we're starting here at this Jaffa Gate, because imagine if Hamas would be in charge here to let you maybe go in. Hamas, PA, and ultimately it's all the same. It's just a snake in, there are snakes that hug you and then there are snakes that bite you, but it's all much more or less the same. Because in the year 2000, this was offered to the Palestinians. One of the gates, they were meant to get 5 gates of the old city, including the Jaffa Gate, offered to them. And in fact, he said no. Now, the reality is that the two-state solution was dead already when Oslo first started. The concept of giving away the land of Israel and parts of Jerusalem is absurd. And for what? We'll talk later about, is there such a thing as Palestinian people, which clearly is a very strange terminology. The other thing to really note for everyone is that the area between where we're standing now and the King David Hotel behind us was actually no man's land. Jordanians were on the walls of the old city. This is no man's land, and the place was physically divided. And Jews were forbidden to be not on the Temple Mount, not in the City of David, not on the Mount of Olives, not at the Kotel, and the Mount of Olives Cemetery was overturned. 25 to 30,000 graves, no one's ever going to know, were ultimately destroyed. Zero tolerance of anything Jewish, and Jews were forbidden to be here. So it's really since 1967 that everything has been opened up. Jordanians have gone back to Jordan, and having Israeli sovereignty here has changed everything. And there's freedom for all religions. Christians now come to Holy Sepulchre. Muslims can go to...
and we'll see that.
We're going to see all of that as we walk around. We're first going to see the big picture. When you're sometimes in a forest, you see the tree, but you don't understand a picture. People have to understand, what the hell are we fighting over? Where is the old city? Where's the City of David? Where's the Temple Mount? That's what we're fighting over. Maybe one thing to see inside the gate, because we're probably not going to see it at the end. It's probably the most controversial real estate. Come. Inside Yerushalayim.
Yeah, back on.
You're back.
Did you want to tell us what that was?
So, well, what that
אין
is
chance
a
בחיים
mezuzah.
שתזכור.
It's a
Yeah,
mark.
אבל זה
There's
בסדר.
another one on this wall here. It's a
זה
mark
בסדר,
of
אבל זה
entrance.
בסדר.
And there's a
אין
little
צ'אנס
scroll with a
בחיים.
prayer
אנחנו
in
מדברים,
there.
כשעליתי לארץ לפני
Jews have a habit of
30
kissing
שנה,
or touching it,
והייתי
kissing
אחד
it.
מהקבוצות
And
הראשונות
there's in
במנהרת
fact there's a
הכותל, הקבוצה
gigantic
הראשונה
one
שהתחיל
across the
שמה.
airport from Gurion.
יכול
Go
להיות.
down towards,
אוקיי, בסדר.
towards the passport control. There's a gigantic mezuzah. It's about 2 meters tall.
בסדר.
I'm just going to share the
Where's that?
live while we're...
Okay.
Oh, here we are.
So what I was telling you, real estate. It's all about ideological real estate. And these two hotels behind, one was a very run-down hotel. The second one was called the Petra Hotel, where not even backpackers would stay. It was so run down. Both of these hotels were owned by the Greek Orthodox Church, and over 20 years ago, Jewish concerns managed to buy them. Of course, the Arab world went crazy because they wanted to take away Jerusalem. What the hell are the Jews buying a hotel and want to make it great again? In fact, there were people even in the church that wanted to cancel the deal. And they said, why are you taking the Christians out? God forbid the Christians should be taken out of Jerusalem. Of course not. However, what they forget to tell people is that second hotel was actually a Jewish hotel built by the Amslak family from Gibraltar, later owned by the Amdurskis, and it ran as a kosher hotel all the way till 1930, till the pogroms. Now, the pogroms is probably the most important point that everyone has to understand. If we're talking about a Jewish majority inside the old city, if we're talking about Jews on the Mounts of Olives, in the city of David, in the old Yemenite village, what happened to the Jewish life there? So there were three sets of pogroms. Three sets of pogroms, 1920, 28, 29, 1936, 37, where the Jews were physically driven out of all these areas. I ask anyone in the world, what, so a Jew hasn't any rights to come back to the place that he was driven out from? So that's the first thing we have to understand. The second thing we have to understand, I don't mean to offend anyone maybe from England, but the British have a lot to pay for, because it was actually the British who didn't want to protect the Jews in that period. And what happened was they took the Jews out of the old city because they couldn't protect them. There's even a picture, I have to find it at some point, that is an amazing picture where they're being driven out of this particular area right here, taken out. Imagine, Avi, you're in Australia and there's rioting. I'm not sure this happens in Australia, but there's rioting in Australia.
These days I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, you're living somewhere, in Richmond, wherever you live, doesn't matter. And the police knock at your door. Police knock at your door and they say, listen, Avi, there's rioting in the streets, people are being murdered, and there's looting and burning and rape. We're taking you out, we're going to move you to Werribee for the next 12 months till things quieten down. Well, what are you, a lunatic? Stop the people rioting. Yeah. I'm staying in my house. The British took out the Jews who were living throughout the whole of the old city with the Jewish majority. They take them out and it becomes zero Jews. We're now basically going back home.
It's to be honest, that's not actually such a far-fetched thing. We know in protests at the anti-Israel protests that we've seen over the last couple of years in Melbourne, if you go into the city with an Australian flag, not even an Israeli flag, you see there's one woman that goes there each week with an Australian flag. They remove her from the city for her own safety. It's the same concept, just in a...
Look at this. Look at this. We're standing at this, but this is Jews with their little... This could be somewhere in Europe, a shtetl, but it's not a shtetl. It's actually Jews being taken out by the British. A shocking, shocking picture. And look at this one. We're standing exactly this place here at the Jaffa Gate. A British policeman ushering the women and children out of the old city because they didn't want to stop the Arabs from rioting. And we lost the Jewish presence here, but now we've come back.
I want to show, we should also just, if we go to that corner over there, I want you to show where King David Hotel is. Because you couldn't see it, was behind the trees a minute ago.
What is the King David Hotel?
The King David Hotel's got a famous history. He'll know a lot more, but...
There's the vehicle we're going into. I'm just going to go into there. Yeah, there's the... there's...
Just go around this corner, I'll point out where it is. So, we're along the gates. This is the old walls of Jerusalem. And just across this valley, that building at the top, the sort of brown brick building, I'm colorblind, between those two trees, that's the King David Hotel, which today is a hotel, but back at the time of 1948 was the British military headquarters for administering Jerusalem. So that'll come up later. But it's just across this valley from the old city.
One of the most important things really to understand about this between 48 and 67 is, remember, Israel did not have the old city. Israel does not have the Golan. Israel doesn't have Judea and Samaria that I think some people call the West Bank, nor Gaza. Could someone please explain to me, where was the Palestinian people? Where was the Palestinian state? If there really does exist, there doesn't, a Palestinian people with a history and heritage, then why wasn't the state created that they wanted peacefully in 1948? It's because it doesn't exist. Let's get in the vehicle and we'll drive to Abu Tor.
Do you want to jump around?
Yep.
Or you're good on that side?
I'll jump around.
Jump around. Do you want to sit in the front and then you can stream backwards, or you want to stream...
No, I'll sit here. That's fine.
Huh? Automatic doors, there we go.
Best German
I think you're
engineering.
You keep talking, it's live.
No, so now, while we're driving, it's probably a great time to really understand what is this real estate. Remember, it's the most controversial real estate in the world.
Yep.
This is ideological real estate. אנחנו לא, לא, כן, אבל אנחנו בסרט, אז בסדר? So, לא, לא, אפשר לנסוע נורמלי רגיל, אבל לא לדבר, זה הכל. Real estate here, how do I put it? It's something which is very foreign to anyone watching this tour, because anywhere in the world, there's no limitations on who can buy. Like in Australia, there's no such thing. We have real estate agents saying, well, this property is available to only Italians, or we won't let Greeks buy this house. No such thing. Yeah. But here in Israel, especially in Jerusalem, if you sell, this is a Muslim edict, a Muslim law. If you sell to a Jew, you're killed. It's forbidden to sell to a Jew. It's the most immoral, unethical, and disgraceful edict that is one of the highest, it's called a fatwa, an absolute edict that exists in the Muslim world.
And who carries it out? Who enforces it?
The Waqf and the PA.
Who
and
are the
Hamas
Waqf? For
anyway.
people who don't know what the Waqf is.
The Waqf is the most upper body. It's like the ruling body within the Muslim world. They're landowners. They have people that have edicts and laws. It's like the equivalent, but they're nothing
Where
like
are they
it.
based? Is it Jordan?
It's all over the world. You know, there is a Waqf in all Muslim countries. It's the highest authority within the Muslim world. You sell to a Jew, you're killed. It has to be screamed to the rooftops what they're doing here. Of course, that puts enormous pressure both on the organization who's buying from the Arabs. How do you protect the Arab who's selling? Not only that, but if you're a middleman that may have helped in a deal, you're allowed to be tortured. You're thrown into jail. You lose your Muslim status, and you and your family can't be buried in a Muslim cemetery. So start to imagine what we have to go through and how the Arabs have to be protected, those who are involved in a sale to Jews. Now, there's no shortage of people selling, because in most cases, they know they could lose out altogether if any of these cases went to court. Because remember, in most of the cases, Arabs are illegal squatters in old Jewish buildings, in old Jewish properties. I mean, the case which is unfolding now at the moment is actually within the Yemenite village, where there are literally 500 to 600 Arabs who have been deemed by the Supreme Court to be illegal squatters in Yemenite property.
What would you say to people that are watching this thinking, well, the whole system is skewed, it's unfair because basically you're going to an Israeli court, so obviously they're going to have a bias to the Jews and they're just going to rule in favour of Jews?
As it works out in this case, particular case, the Israeli court system is totally skewed to the left. That's why there's all been this judicial reform. That's why the nation, most of the nation, wants to try and change the court system because it represents a certain type of left-wing non-religion, doesn't represent the country itself, which is also traditional, also religious.
Has it ruled in favour of the Palestinians before?
Definitely has, in many cases.
Okay, that's the context that matters, I think. Because if you think about a kangaroo court in China, for example, where they have a 99.95 conviction rate, that's what most people, like, even I would assume that here,
no, it's quite the opposite. But in this case, they couldn't rule with the Arabs because it's so blatant. It's so clear. Yes, this was a Yemenite synagogue. We can see it. You know where the Yemenite synagogue is, and they were desecrating living in a Yemenite synagogue. They were illegal squatters. So too with the other land which is around there. So rather than actually being taken out by the courts, there are Jews around the world who simply want to come back home as the indigenous people and will pay and will buy properties from Arabs, even if they are illegal squatters. Even if they are illegally living in old Jewish properties, money is being paid. In fact, the judge thought it was way beyond the norm, like we say, holier than the Pope, to offer compensation to an Arab who has been living, for example, in a synagogue or other old Yemenite or Middle Eastern Sephardi property, which is unbelievable. Of course, then some of the Arabs got a bit of a problem because if they take the money, then they'll be seen as if they're working with the Jews. There's enormous unfair violence and hatred and incitement and intimidation against even moderate Arabs. There are some Arabs, for example, all they want to do is live quietly in peace. And they know that life is great in this Jewish state. They don't want to live, definitely not under the PA, not under Hamas, not in any other Arab country that's here. But unfortunately, there's too many. We've seen that today, and we've woken up very rudely on the 7th of October. There's millions of Arabs that want to see the death of Avi, the death of Daniel, the end of the Jewish state, and the end of the Jewish people. And anti-Semitism has risen because the Jews have shown courage. When the Lion of Judah rose, at the same time, you'll notice around the world, the anti-Semitism hit new heights in every single country around the world. Very few countries that hasn't risen its head. And that's because we're no longer the Jew of the shtetl and the ghetto. We are the Lion of Judah that is standing up for ourselves, and it's hard for the world to accept that.
But it's the oppressed oppressor narrative. So when you're viewed, especially from the left, as the oppressed, then the sympathy is with you. That's why after the Shoah, after the Holocaust, it was Jews were considered the victims of that situation. Nowadays, it's very hard because, of course, Israel, after 75 years, has built up a system that protects its people and will not fall victim to genocide, a real genocide again. And from too many people have fallen for that narrative that everything is oppressor and oppressor, and there has to be an oppressor and oppressor.
Tell what the valley that we're going past. This is
Gad Ben Hinnom. When we get to the rooftop, it'll all become very clear. It's a bit hard from maybe the vehicle. We're getting out in about 10 seconds.
okay.
So when we go to the rooftop, we're going into a compound. There's just one thing: we can't film anything with this relates to security. Unfortunately, because of the hatred and the violence.
Can we get through it without?
No, we're getting through it, but say you won't be able to film. I don't want you to film anything that relates to security. So if there's security cameras, try and keep that out of the frame, etc. And we generally don't film the security guards. The reality today is in Israel, not just since the 7th of October, that wherever there are Jews living, they need to be protected, not just by police, but by even private security company, because of a certain amount of hatred and violence towards them here. So let us hop out. אנחנו נהיה בפנים כמו כרגיל, בסדר? בואו נצא כאן.
Let's go.
שני הצדדים. אתה יכול להסתובב ותחכה כאן על המדרכה.
Wait here, wait. Come.
We've just come into a neighbourhood which is actually a divided neighbourhood. There's a Jewish side and an Arab side of Abu Tor. During the war, 48...
Just try get in without...
That's on me.
What?
The camera's on me.
Ah, good. He's got a camera on him, so we can get through the security wherever you want to go.
No, it's fine.
You're happy, yeah?
Yeah, that's fine. That's no issue. The government spends $35 million a year on the security of all our families. Let's understand something. Very, very few people, except the left-wing fringe that don't make up a fingernail of my body, everyone believes that Jerusalem has to stay in Jewish hands, that we need to protect the Jews that are living here. The Jews have rights here to be able to buy in every neighborhood. Very, very few people say, no, what are we doing here? Maybe we should hand away the old city and the Temple Mount and the Kotel, the Western Wall, the City of David. It's not really there today. Definitely not since the 7th of October, where the country in many ways has woken up, notwithstanding the many demonstrations in Tel Aviv and the people that went against the reform, etc.
We're going to go talk to them, but we're going to hear from them. Let me ask you a quick question on what you said. When you're talking about the Arabs living in this neighborhood, so half Jewish, half Arab, are they Israeli Arabs?
Israeli Arabs. The area of Jerusalem in 1948, it's very important to understand. Remember, we lost Jerusalem. There was the state of Israel, even though Arab nations tried to destroy us and drive us into the sea. We won the War of Independence in 48, but Jerusalem, the heart of Jerusalem, was actually lost. The white flag goes up, even though we won the war, we lost Jerusalem. 19 years later, in 1967, the Arabs once again, for the upteenth time, tried to drive us out. They lose yet another war, and we get back Jerusalem and the whole of what is today called Judea and Samaria, or the West Bank. Now, for many reasons, which is very sad, there's always been this clash between left and right, right-wing Likud, left-wing Labour Party. What do we do about Judea and Samaria? What do we do about the West Bank? Nothing was ever done about it. Left as a question mark area for all of these years. Well, hasn't been good for the Jews or for the Arabs, even though we've come back home to our homeland. Because remember, from the river to the sea is what God gave the Jewish people. There's no such thing as an Arab Palestine between the river and the sea. That area, nothing was ever done. But Jerusalem, the Israeli government annexed an area and they added it to what was Jerusalem pre-40, pre-67. There is now a united Jerusalem. What happens is the Israeli government builds big Jewish neighborhoods. There's today 215,000 Jews living in what the world says is East Jerusalem. It doesn't exist. It's a totally united Jerusalem. But there's one part of Jerusalem that the Arab world wants, and that's the Holy Basin. It's the old city, the area around. It's maybe 8% of the whole of what was annexed at the time, because most of it's gone. It's an end of story. It changes on the ground. You can't do anything about it. But in the Holy Basin is what the Arab world wants. Arafat said no to the deal in the year 2000, thank God. And Ateret Kohanim, this organization, is buying back this heart of Jerusalem to keep it in Jewish hands, making sure there's facts on the ground. When we go to the rooftop now, you'll see exactly what I mean. It's a phenomenal view from the top here, but to see the whole of the Holy Basin, to understand where is the city of David, where's the Temple Mount.
And these steps are not made
Very
for...
small steps.
Yeah.
They're made for you, Avi.
Except they're tall and skinny instead of short and fat.
I'm being very careful here.
You all right?
Yeah, it's all good.
Oh, wow.
Bit of a workout. All right.
Look at this, look
Come
at
to the rooftop,
this.
guys. So
Wow, look at this.
if you're joining in, we're just getting a tour of Jerusalem.
There is no temple, but it's still a magnificent, beautiful view. This is what the battle is all over. When they talk about the El Aqsa flood, when they talk about we want Al-Quds, and the Al-Quds a military wing, etc., this is what they want. What they don't understand, and what the world needs to understand, is that the Jewish people, the only indigenous people to this land that have had a connection with the Temple Mount, with the Mount of Olives, with the city of David, for now 3,800 years, we're not going anywhere. And as the indigenous people of this land, only we have sovereign rights over this land. That doesn't mean to say that Christians and Muslims who accept the Jewish state can't live here. Of course they can live here, 100%. There are plenty of Christians, in fact, we get along very well with the Christian world, who are being decimated, unfortunately, by the Muslims wherever they are, throughout the whole of the Middle East, Gaza, Bethlehem. It's not like the way it was. At least under Israel, they find solace, they understand. And the Christian world understands that we're the ones that have come back home. That we're the ones that are here since Abraham. In fact, if you look close enough, you may even see Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in your mind. And the kings that walked around here. The city of David slopes down from the Temple Mount. There's the city of David, that little mountain that slopes down from the old city walls. Of course, the place where the Golden Dome is a place for the Jewish people. It's the center of the Jewish world. That's where, of course, the Holy of Holies was, one of the chambers of the temple, the first temple and the second temple, both of which stood, of course, hundreds of years before Muhammad was even born. So,
and it's the site where Abraham didn't sacrifice Isaac, which I keep...
the rock.
Very few people know that
Mount
the rock
Moriah.
underneath it is Mount Moriah.
Correct. It's called the Dome of the Rock for that reason. In fact, according to Jewish folklore and the source and tradition, that's where the world was created. From that primordial rock of Mount Moriah. Adam and Eve had their first encounter was there. Cain and Abel had their disagreement there. Noah, when he leaves the ark and comes to Jerusalem, sacrifices from there. And as we just heard, of course, the attempted sacrifice of Isaac, it's on that which is under the Dome of the Rock. In fact, that was only built there by Abd el-Malik around the year 700 CE, because they knew the importance for history, for monotheism. And the Arabs don't even actually pray there. They pray in El Aqsa, which is the grey dome. But that's the Temple Mount. In the background, you've got the Mounts of Olives, the city of David, which is today half Jewish, half Arab, phenomenal tourist centre, archaeology.
Wasn't there
uncover-
something that Marco Rubio opened there this
Just
week?
now.
Yeah. Are you going to show us that in there?
Well, we don't go in this.
wanna
We
know.
don't go to the
So
City of David.
just for the
The
viewers.
City of David, just understand, the City of David is outside the walls of the old city today. Once upon a time, it was inside the walls. Today, it's outside. But it's just been opened up because we discovered recently the original reservoir or pool of water at the base of the City of David from 2,800 years ago. And the road that went from the pool all the way to the Temple Mount. Of course, the Muslim Arab world, they hate these archaeological things. Why? Because it shows who was actually here. There's no such thing as a Palestinian or Arab people. In fact, even the word Palestine, it drives me bananas. They've stolen the word Palestine. Palestine, according to the world, the arrogance
Was it from Philistines? Is that what it-
they initially came to Philistines.
They never want to attach themselves to that because they're obviously from the Greek islands, but the Philistines in the biblical times were
because they wanted to wipe out any reference to what's that. But even in our times, forget the Philistines, even in our time, 100 years ago,
Yeah.
to this day, the French and the English called the whole of this area Palestine equals the Jewish national homeland. In fact, and San Remo, they gave away 2/3 of that and they created Jordan. But really, from the river to the sea is for sure part of the Jewish national homeland. And so when the Arabs think they can take away and rewrite history, you got to stop for a second and understand what is the truth and say it the way it is. This whole land between the river and the sea belongs to the Jewish people. We're the ones with the 3,800-year-old connection to this land. Kings, forefathers, the Christian world understands it, the Jewish world understands, and part of the Muslim world is starting to wake up and realize that we are the son of Abraham that's got this area. So there's the City of David with the road, which you don't see because it's 12 meters underground. You've got the Mount of Olives in the background, but it's not just there horizontal Jews that have been buried for generations. We've even got a Jewish neighborhood on the Mount of Olives, a Jewish neighborhood. People alive, the whole world said, no, it's never going to happen. No, no, no. It was discussed in the United Nations, the EU. But today there's a Jewish neighborhood on the Mount of Olives. Now, opposite, on the other side of the valley, you'd like this as a Yemenite heritage.
Yeah.
The other side of the valley, Yemenite Jews came here in 1882. Now, we're talking about a time where there wasn't a single Arab living there. There are pictures and titles to prove it, and I love it sometimes. These Arabs, they talk about, we've been here for hundreds of years. There was nothing outside the wall of the old city till 1860. Nothing. It was just the walled city. Sultan Suleiman redid the walls of the old city till 1860, zero. And then there's Mea Sharim, a religious area in 1874. You've got the Russian compound in 1860. And Yemenite Jews who believed the Messiah was coming, maybe someone from your family, came here in 1882. At its peak, there are 150 Yemenite families living here. Sephardi families moved in, like usual. And as Mark Twain saw in 1867, when the Jews start building up things, the Arabs also migrate because things are looking good, quality of life goes up. And they came and they also lived here. And then came those pogroms. Then came the pogroms, and what happened was the Jews were kicked out of this area, the British took them out, and there wasn't a single Jew in the Yemenite village of Shiloach until 2004. Ateret Konim is able to go back to the Yemenite village, and at what I would call the pinnacle of the revival of Jewish life there was the synagogue. There were a number of Arab families living in the synagogue. I don't know how long you or I would last if we were living in Preston or in Collingwood in some 100-year-old mosque. Probably not too long. But 5 Arab families were living here. Some of them made a deal, and I can't go into the details of what happened. And those that refused to leave, there's no way that the trust could allow Arabs living in a synagogue. And the Supreme Court of Israel ruled. In fact, you can see the synagogue right in front of us. Behind this new building, there's 3 domes. If you look straight ahead of you, first of all, I'll tell you what, go to the tall building at 12 o'clock. At 12 o'clock, there's a tall building, 6 stories high. It's straight ahead of us at the bottom of the other side. As you're starting to climb up the other side, there's a building 6 stories high. That's the first building we moved into in 2004. To the left of that building is 2 orange roofs. Then there's a beige building, and then there's the eyes of intimidation. Throughout the whole of the neighborhood, you see the green eyes in the blue paint there. They are, the Arabs have painted, and a German painted eyes. We're looking at you Jews, we know what you're doing. Our eyes are on you, our eyes are on the moderate Arabs. Now to the left of those green eyes with the blue.
So you say that it's intimidation of the moderate Arabs as well as the Jews?
Well, the truth is, some Arabs have told us that it's against the Jews. We're looking at what you are doing here. We know what's going on. Our eyes are on you. according to other Arabs who have spoken to us, say, no, you don't understand. This is a quiet threat. Don't work with the municipality. Don't work with the authorities. Hate the Jews. Do what you have to. Don't work with, our eyes are on you, moderate Arabs. They're throughout the whole neighborhood, eyes of intimidation. And the synagogue, which is being restored now with those 3 white domes, was literally to the left of them. All around, as we drive down and around, you'll see it even more so.
And so any part of the Arabs that are living here,
Yep.
are there those that don't have Israeli citizenship, or these are Israeli
No,
citizenship?
this area was annexed after
Okay, so-
67, as opposed to Judea and Samaria, where the Arabs were kept as a question mark, as
But
were
when
the
you go
Jews.
into the old city now,
Same thing.
Same thing.
Same thing. They work in Yerushalayim. They're actually even allowed. They've got a better status because they're allowed dual citizenship, Jordanian and Israeli. It's a special It's a special Jerusalem status where they can choose whatever they want. It's even better in Judea and
And
Samaria.
are they different then? So are they different in terms, because they do have that dual citizenship? Is the conflict hotter in Jerusalem and other Israel? Because we often talk about the Israeli Arabs in general around the country. Are they a different kind of, I guess, breed, or is there a different reality when it comes to the Arabs that live here that do have Israeli citizenship compared to, let's say, Israeli Arabs that live in an Arab village up in the north?
There's 2 types of Arabs in Israel today. What I call Israel from the river to the sea. There are
Out of
those
the 20%.
Arabs. There are Arabs who are living in Judea and Samaria. That's a question mark area that has to be decided. Hopefully, we will annex the area and be good for the Arabs.
Those are not part of the 20% that make up
No.
Israel. Yep.
Now, within Israel, which is Israel proper, so to speak, although I think the whole is Israel proper between the river and the sea, you've got Arabs living in Lod and Ramleh. They are regular, everyday citizens. If you go
So
to...
my question is, the ones here, are
Same-
they like Lod and Ramleh?
they're the same things. They can. The only difference is that if you still kept your Jordanian citizenship, if you want dual citizenship, you don't vote in the national elections. You only vote in the municipal elections. So you control your life here, but you're not in the national elections. But they have all the rights like anyone else. If you go to the Hebrew University, there are residents from here who are lecturers and students. If you go to the Hadassah Hospital, there are residents from here who are doctors, nurses, and patients, just like every Jew. No difference
Okay,
whatsoever.
but the percentage here that identify as Palestinian as opposed to Israeli
That's something else. That's something else altogether. When you're talking about their feelings towards the Jewish state and how they accept or
That's
don't
what I'm
accept,
asking.
That's another story altogether. I don't think there's ever been a survey done what they really feel. 'cause
Anecdotally, do you feel like there's a difference between the average Arab that lives here in their personal identity compared to those, let's say, in the north of Israel, that live in Israel proper, that's, I guess, much less contentious?
I don't know. I don't know the numbers, and I don't want even to hazard a guess.
Okay.
All I know is that there's no shortage of Arabs that want to see the end of the Jewish state, and they live within Israel. That's for sure. This argument, there's not that much of a difference between the Arab who lives in Gaza and his cousin who lives maybe in Lod. And we got that proof a few years ago. Remember when we went into Gaza 5, 6 years ago, and suddenly everyday Israelis.
But there are obviously there are villages which are Christian Arab inside of Israel.
They love the fact that we're here. They know that we protect
Okay.
their rights.
But I think it's important for the viewer to understand that
There
when
are
we're saying
Christian-
Arabs, we're talking about.
You got to be
you're
very
saying
careful.
mostly
Christian
Muslim
Arabs versus Muslims. I'm talking about the Muslim Arabs who have got cousins in Gaza, who've got cousins all over, that don't necessarily love the state of Israel. There's plenty, of course. I met recently, this was the most, my mouth was open for this. I met someone from the Arab Emirates. I can't say exactly who and where he came from. Someone relatively high ranking. He came actually incognito into Israel because of the way the Arabs treat the Arab Emirates, because the Arab Emirates have accepted Israel. And he was saying, listen, Daniel, I want you to understand before we even start going around, I believe you are the true son of Abraham. Now, the other sons of Abraham, like me, we got blessed with many other lands and oil and whatever, we're fine. And he says, there are millions of Arabs like me who believe that you are the true son of Abraham between the river and the sea, the Jewish people, the sons of Abraham. He says, your problem is not with me. Your problem is that there's millions of Arabs, even within Israel, that want to see the end of Israel. We have a problem. It's not easily solved. But one thing is for certain, handing away God's given land to the Jewish people and not
Is it
acting
just-
with
so-
strength
so
and conviction,
not-
you're in
not
trouble.
Not everyone watching this would be religious. There are probably plenty that are Christian or Jewish or whatever. Even Muslims, if they read the Quran, their own religion states a lot of that. But people that are not religious and don't really rely on the religious argument of it,
Yeah.
Do you still think that these arguments hold up? And if so, why? Like, is it important? Why is it important if you do? You know, it's like that old meme that we see online. It was promised to me 3,000 years ago. I think there's a new one about Ben Shapiro at the moment with. They've got that famous meme settler in there in Charlie Kirk's studio and saying now it was promised to me 3,000 years ago. It's kind of a joke that's taken, even though it's true. That's kind of the way they manipulate the story, is to kind of mock the Jewish claim, the indigenous claim, by saying, oh yeah, you Jews think it's theirs because they were promised it by God 3,000 years ago. For those that don't necessarily subscribe to that and don't even look at the Torah or the New Testament or even the Quran itself as a historical record, a true historical record, what would the argument be from your perspective?
Okay, well, obviously, as a religious Jew, there is nothing that can take away from the religious argument, number one. But if I was talking to any other person, anyone with basic understanding of history, forget 3,000 years ago, 100 years ago, the nations of the world declared that between the river and the sea was the Jewish national homeland, Palestine. Before 1948. Not only that, forget Abraham and Isaac. If there is a group of people that want to kill you and you destroy them and you win your war, you don't have rights for the land? Then who does have rights for the land? If it's not the First of all, we are in a religious war. This war is not over land.
Of course.
Israel tried to give away, but the left wing in Israel made the absurd mistake of thinking that it is maybe land for peace. Let's hand away this homeland and everything will be okay. We end up with hundreds of thousands of missiles in our back doorsteps on regular
That's in Gaza, but some people will argue that it worked in Egypt and it worked in...
Well, Egypt was over just an empty bit of land, and at the moment, it's a cold piece.
Sure, but it's a different...
It's not like Israel's going there and sipping coffee in Cairo. We're not loved by the Egyptian people. It's a cold piece, and I'm glad that it's held up, but having a new leader in Egypt with the Muslim Brotherhood with weapons that they've got in the Sinai puts us in a precarious situation. That's not what you'd call true peace. Land for peace doesn't work. There was a war in 48, we won the war. There was a war in 67, we won the war. There was a war in 73. At some point you have to say, even someone who doesn't believe in history or religion or God or Abraham, the Jews are being attacked. They deserve a homeland. They're being attacked. The Arabs are losing the war, so we keep the land. Even from that perspective. I'm not sure what argument anyone would have to say that it shouldn't be for the Jews. It's not what I would say. From my perspective, we are here because we are the indigenous people
I
here.
think it's true. I think we've talked about this before. There's, when it comes to, forget about the religious argument, when it comes to arguing nation states in the West, you have two views, right? Whether you have the left-wing view, it's the indigenous people. It's always the indigenous people. So in Australia,
then it's us.
Then if you're really looking at indigenous, like you're willing to go 65,000 years, or now I think they're up to 75,000 years in Australia. Surely we can look back 3,000 years. So then it does fall on the Jews. The second one, which is usually the conservative perspective, is if we conquered it and won it fair and square and we control it, then it's ours. Again, that would fall on the state of Israel.
So in either case,
however
you're looking at it, this land belongs to the Jewish people. There is absolutely no argument, no logical, historical, religious, moral, ethical to say that this should be the land of any Arab people. It doesn't exist, which is why, of course, I should have bought the book at the time. They sold thousands of copies on Amazon about the Palestinian history and heritage.
It was empty.
And then, of course, the Muslim world went berserk and threatened Amazon to stop selling it because the pages were blank. It was an interesting publicity spin, but there is a certain truth behind it. I mean, with all due respects, there's never been an Arab Palestinian people. Yes, there have been 17.
But they exist.
Who exists?
No, I've heard the counter argument. They go, well, those people are here, so they
have rights. So do Christians. They have rights. It's not sovereign rights.
No. The argument that they make, the counter argument is, well, they're here, and families have been, whether it's a generation, 2 generations, 10 generations, they were here? Where did they? So the question is, where did they really come from? That's really what people are asking. Jordan,
We
Egypt.
know where they came from. Jordan, Egypt,
Yeah, I know.
the whole of the Muslim country. I mean, as soon Mark Twain said it
Which is what you
beautifully.
said before.
No,
They
but
came
Mark
here
Twain
when it
saw it
was-
in 1867. First of all, I love it. You know, the internet site's set up against Mark Twain because he was the one that said, "Oh, there's nothing in the country here. There's just some cats and some empty deserts and hardly anything." The grand Jerusalem from Solomon's times is gone. Of course, the Arab world hates that. So that's why there's internet sites against him, saying that he never left the hotel. He sipped wine and ate cheese. He saw what was here. The Jews came back here. We've built it up to be a successful, thriving, moral country that is a light to the nations, and many people understand that.
I
Is
want
the
to
audio
say,
all right?
Oh, it's good.
can you hear me?
I'm making it louder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just while we're standing here, I don't
But
know
not
if the
to make sure
camera-
it's not peaking. So let them know.
I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but when we're looking this way, we're looking basically straight at Jordan. The first ridge you see is Israel. It's in the distance. We can see it with our eyes, and the camera can probably pick it up. The next ridge is Jordan. That's after the Dead Sea, right?
Very, very close.
It's
in fact,
very
now
close.
that you're pointing it out, really important. Everyone can definitely see from here, if you zoom in even, there is a concrete barrier that runs along the ridge of the mountain. That defines Jerusalem. Anything on the inside is part of Jerusalem. What is on the other side of that fence? Abu Dis. Now, Abu Dis, for the extreme left-wing lunatics in this country that thought you could hand away land, everything will be okay, with those who want to destroy altogether, that was going to become Area A. Total Arab control, like Gaza, like Ramallah, Gaza City. Could you imagine a Gaza City a few meters away from the Temple Mount, the city
And
of
they
David?
used to shoot. They used to
Shocking,
shoot
shocking.
rifles from there to here.
You wouldn't need missiles.
Yeah.
Missiles. I remember I met some American families who said, well, we can't go to Ashdod and Ashkelon because maybe there are missiles that go 20, 30 kilometers from the Gaza. Forget missiles from here. If that was already Area A, in fact, the Palestinian Parliament House is behind, you can see it. Today it's empty. It's right behind the fence there. Because when Arafat said no to the deal that was offered by a left-wing prime minister here, by Barak in the year 2000, that's when everything went dead. We're in charge on the other side. It's part of Judea and Samaria, yes, or I think the world calls it the West Bank. It's going to be decided what to do there. But there's police, there's army, there's control. When we show strength and strength of conviction, there's nothing that can happen to us. Nothing. And if so long as we act in accordance with our covenant and ethical with God, then it doesn't matter what the world says. United Nations just made a decision now for 142 versus 10. You think it makes any difference here on the ground? 142 nations said Israel shouldn't exist from the river to the sea. That there should be two states here. That we should be giving Hamas, the PA, the Palestinian people that have never existed as a people, a state at the expense of a tiny Jewish state, which is 1/7 of the whole of Victoria. It's a tiny area. That should be, even from the practical point of view, you can't have two states between the river and the sea. There is one state here, the Jewish state, the state of Israel.
And those that want to live in it,
With pleasure. But
even
the
the Arabs,
every Arab that wants to live, but the second that Arab
every Arab that wants to live here,
No,
you're happy to-
only every Arab who's prepared to live in a Jewish state for Jewish people, Jewish values. If you're an
with
Arab,
equal rights though.
100%. But if an Arab lives
I think it's
here-
important because
Oh, that goes without saying. But if an Arab, if his intention,
it has to go with saying because people
Okay.
people will listen to what you say. They'll go, "That's radical," even though I think it's actually the most sensible and it's the most practical. But if you don't qualify it with the people that you're calling Palestinians are welcome to stay
any
as long
Arab, just like the Arab believes in the Lord, if you live in this country, in any country of the world, you live here, you have rights. However, if you're an Arab living in Israel, Jerusalem, Lord Rabbah, and if your whole life is based on a Hamas-like, PA-like,
Destroying
destroy Israel, throw Molotov cocktails, stab a Jew.
Well, that's the same. I think if you
In
come
any
to
country in the world.
if you come to Australia, I think Senator Payne, and that's celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder because of a political opposition. I think those people should be kicked out of Australia, and I think the same should apply to any.
The citizenship should
sovereign
be
country.
revoked. Anyway, we're going to drive
let's go.
down and around now, up through the city of David, past the Jewish neighborhood, if you want, on the Mount of Olives.
Wherever you take us.
And then
And
we'll
then
go
we'll
into
the old
then we'll
city.
go into the old city.
Everything good with the stream, Rukshan?
Yeah, all good.
Was the volume a bit low?
Yeah, I put the volume a bit up, guys. So
And there's no peaking at all?
The Beit Knesset, you
There's
many
no
guys
peeking.
managed to, you saw the Beit Knesset, the 3 white domes?
Yeah, I think I did. But I got a shot.
At 12 o'clock, you see the green eyes,
Yes.
the blue? To the left of that is a green tree,
Oh,
and then
I
the
see
3
the 3
white
domes.
domes.
I see it. Yeah.
All right, let's
Come,
keep
let's
going.
go.
go.
Careful if you're going down, guys.
All right, guys. So if you're wondering what's going on and you're joining in late, me and Avi we're going through a tour of the old city of Jerusalem from the perspective of someone that's here. You can do super chats and ask questions. We will put those questions to the people that are with us after, or to me and Avi. We can ask those
Let's go to
questions
that.
as well.
You all right there, Rukshan?
Yeah. I'm making it down. All right. Thanks, mate.
So basically, there are Jews around the world who want to buy back Jerusalem. We've been waiting for generations to have a piece of the rock. So we basically make the combination. We find the Jews who are ready to buy back, and
The Jews that are willing to live.
Jews who are willing
That
to live.
want
There's
to live,
plenty of
there's
them.
plenty.
We have
There's
lists of
line.
people ready to move in, and it's not because the rent is low. It's because they want to be at the forefront to keep Jerusalem in Jewish hands. The facts on the ground are really very, very important.
We'll go back to. You sit on it. Come in here. I'll come. He'll do it.
Yeah.
What's the button for it?
I think he will.
No, it goes by itself. It's fine. It's not straightforward for the families living here, of course, because there's still way too much animosity. I think it'll be another few generations, maybe now with the switch of concept since the 7th of October of Israel coming down hard and not allowing a violent Arab enemy on our back doorstep. There'll be a change in the Muslim world. The guy from the Arab Emirates, his kids are brought up to accept the fact that there is a Jewish state. And when there is a change at the kindergarten level, you bring up a generation. Today's generation of the young kids, all you have to see is, the pride that a young 9-year-old boy felt on the 7th of October, killing and massacring and burning and raping the Jews. This generation is already gone. We have to somehow start afresh.
De-radicalized, which is kind of what happened after Nazi Germany.
But it takes time.
Next generation.
But that's something that will happen. We're driving down, by the way, now. It's a shortcut past the Yemenite village in the city of David. There is a beautiful biblical farm here that people can come to and learn about farming in that period. There's a massive, as you can see, there's going to be a chairlift coming around here very shortly to get the public to the old city in the Western Wall of the Temple Mount a lot faster. But a beautiful area that's being redeveloped called the Valley of Hinnom as we drive down towards the old Yemenite village of Shiloach, where today, by the way, we've got 43 families. Notwithstanding the edict that an Arab is killed, there's enough things that we can do to protect them. We sometimes move the Arabs overseas. We have certain things that we do in court also, without going into detail. And sometimes we use a number of middlemen. One Arab once said to us, "I'll sell you the house, but I don't want any Jew to move in for 7 years." So we have a number of Arabs that work with us that maybe go into the building, and 7 or 8 years later, we move into the building, and there's no connection with the first Muhammad or Ahmed that may have sold it years beforehand. So we do everything necessary to protect the Arabs, the middlemen, etc. We're now at the base of the city of David. The base of the city of David, and opposite, you'll see very shortly, the eyes everywhere. I actually met, it was a German artist that was brought in by a radical left-wing group here in Israel called Ir Amim, paid for, and she was painting all these eyes throughout the whole of the neighborhood. In a second, we'll stop for a second for maybe he'll open the door for you to look across. And if you look at 3 and 4 o'clock, you'll see the synagogue and the eyes everywhere. Look back. And he's going to open the door.
Where is the eyes?
Right,
Just to the
look,
right.
Look,
Can I
look,
jump out?
Up
look
there
at
on the-
if you
Oh,
want to.
up there.
Look, everywhere. They're everywhere.
you see it?
Stand tall if you can. You'll see the synagogue at foot, right? You see the synagogue with the 3 domes?
Oh, there they are, they're there.
They're everywhere. And the synagogue, you're too low down, but the synagogue, you can just see the synagogue if you stand on your tippy toes. You see there, the 3 domes?
Oh yeah.
One of the vehicles, these are the vehicles that take our families in and out. Look,
Is that
in
so-
my own city, children and mothers going in and out of the Yemenite village require a vehicle like that. Do you know how absurd that is? That in my own capital city, the heart of Jerusalem, because of Arab hatred, violence and intolerance, we need special vehicles with this because one time they threw down a washing machine from 3 stories high, slamming onto the vehicle.
that won't protect from a washing machine 3 stories?
No, it didn't actually. It caused a huge dent actually. If we're already out of the vehicle, you want to see the bottom of the city of David? The pool. Oh, you actually said.
We were saying this is.
I didn't.
What did Rubio exactly do? Because we didn't.
So
break it
Rubio, שנייה לרגע, תחכה כאן. Another vehicle that's waiting to go in and take them out. So at the moment, there is a massive archaeological dig taking place at the base of the city of David. A huge
It's in there.
archaeological
Oh,
dig.
yeah, it's covered.
And there are stairs that were already found. There are stairs that go down to an ancient pool, and there's a road that goes from here straight to the Temple Mount. This is the base of the city of David.
So what did?
So he opened up basically the road. Friedman a few years ago.
But why is it so controversial? Because I read, like, why was that such a big thing? That was.
Because someone from America are accepting the fact that the city of David, which is
Is
the heart of
Jewish.
East Jerusalem,
That's what it
is
is.
inside, is Jewish and shows the historical connection. 3,000
Because this would be an
years.
area that, when it's
This is
reported
under
in Australia,
under
it would be-
contention.
yeah.
Contention. This is the
They would
heart
call
of
this occupied.
occupied East Jerusalem. City of David, occupied East Jerusalem. Mind you, King David occupied this area
From who?
from the Jebusites. Okay, so he occupied it. Joshua occupied Israel. So what? They've taken even the word occupation and made it into a horrible word. There's nothing wrong with occupying your own land. If you are the indigenous people here and you're back home, then of course it should be occupied. It should be occupied with all 12 tribes. Mind you, we only know 2 of them. So this is the base of the city of David. You can see more of the eyes straight ahead of you. 1, 2,
The red
3.
one up there.
We today have got Jews who've moved back to the top part of the neighborhood. It's called the Shiloach Heights. In fact, there's a Magen David all the way there with with the 4 balconies. If you zoom in, whatever, there's the Israeli flag at the top there, Israeli flag at the top there. Jews have moved back today to the old Yemenite village, and today there's 43 families there. I'm not saying there's great coexistence. That would take, once again, as we said, some serious change in education in the Arab world in order to see that type of coexistence, basic coexistence. I don't think we can ask for anything more than that. Ma? לא, לא רוצה להיכנס משם. המים, כן, מהמעיין, זה מדהים. אני יודע, המים שבצד השני, כן, מכיר. יש הרבה מה לעשות בסיור הזה, אין לנו זמן. אתה גר כאן?
So that's an Arab that lives here, and he's trying to help you with your tour to show us more stuff.
He said if you wanted to fill the water that flows out from the
I
spring.
understood that, but what I'm saying is, I didn't feel any kind of.
You won't, because you've got the best weapon in the world.
What's that?
Your camera.
So you say on a normal day he wouldn't have been that polite?
No.
No. So you think he's acting for the?
Let's say more than likely not. I've just seen it too often. That a person like there are some very radical clans in the Yemenite village of Shiloach that have been arrested tens of times by police for attacks, etc., against the
I went
Jewish
with you
families.
once, but I could see in their face, and we had the cameras, and they didn't care. This guy seemed.
There's always going to be some that just want to be nice, but in the main, I'm only saying that from experience, that someone who can be exceptionally violent, the second he sees a camera, suddenly he's all a different story.
Innocent.
Yeah, yeah. It's more of the vehicles. This is where they more or less hang out before they drive to the. This is the. We're driving up the middle of the city of David now. We'll come out in a second to the walls of the old city. All of this, in the eyes of the world, it's East Jerusalem, which is a little bit of a joke because since '67, every Israeli government, left and right, has united it, has made the city better for Arabs, whether they be Muslim Arabs or Christian Arabs. It's another world today. You can't compare the way it was under the Jordanians, the British, the Turks. Even if you go back further to the Mamlukites and the Crusaders. I mean, Israel, it's a flourishing, beautiful city that is with freedom for all religions today. In fact, the only people that may be a little bit, affected is actually the Jews.
Why?
Because the Jews were hassled for many years, even going to the Temple Mount. Jews are limited to go to certain places. It's
But the Muslims are they allowed to go to the Western Wall?
Yes, of course they do.
Huh?
They're not interested, but they do. In fact, recently they were very angry that the Americans went to the Western Wall because they claim now, slowly but surely, they claim a lot of things. They claim the Temple Mount, but now they claim the Western Wall belongs to them, that it's a holy Muslim site. Why do they claim it's a holy Muslim site? Because Muhammad, in his dream, remember, Muhammad never came to Jerusalem, but in his dream, he flies on a winged horse from Mecca to Medina to something called the Outer Mosque. That until about 1,000 years ago was a place in Saudi Arabia, any case, El Aqsa. But now it's become very politicized and they say it's Jordan. So when he came on his winged horse in his dream, he tied his winged horse to a fence. And the fence near the mosque in El Aqsa, they claim today is the whole of the Western Wall, therefore the Western Wall belongs to them. Which, so listen, you can create any narrative you want if you say it loud enough, you've got enough money, then anything for them becomes the truth.
There's a nice thing I like to point out with Jerusalem. Jerusalem was divided from 1967, from 1948, 49 to 67. As a percentage of its history, you can't even calculate, it's a number so small, 0.0 something. Berlin was divided from the end of the Second World War, 45, until 89 when the wall came down. It's 6% of its history. Nobody ever talks about East Berlin anymore. East Berlin's gone.
All right, see where we are? We're just the Jewish quarter. Jewish quarter is, by the way, only 1/9 of the whole of the old city. There was, and this is a very important historical fact, not Abraham, Isaac, I'm bringing you closer to our period.
Who came up with the maths calling it a quarter then?
The British have a lot to blame for, but even this, they gave the Muslims 55% of the old city, then the Christian quarter, then the Armenians, and the Jews, we got about 1/9 or 1/10 of the old city called the Jewish quarter. But today's Muslim quarter was the main hub of Jewish activity. Until the pogroms, the riots, there was a Jewish majority in the old city. 21 synagogues and 6 centers of Jewish learning was in what is today called the Muslim quarter. But just as important as that historical fact, look across the valley and you can see this is the old Jewish cemetery, one of the oldest in the world, but very sad. You see how there are buses parked in the middle of the cemetery?
Yeah.
No one's ever going to know, but somewhere from 20 to 30,000 graves were destroyed by the Jordanians in the late 50s, early 60s to pave that road.
Wow.
Went through a Jewish cemetery, mowed everything down. Today we're still finding Arab homes that are using the tombstones as fencing or patios in the house because there's zero tolerance. Even today throughout the whole of the Muslim world, how many Jews live in Muslim countries? There were 850,000 taken out of all Muslim countries, the Jews, between 1947 to 1953. Do we see refugee camps here in Israel? Of course not. There was maybe the same number, 750,000 were taken out also from Israel as a result of the war, but they were kept as a political pawn. This was the whole thing. That's why there are Jews Arabs in refugee camps throughout Gaza, and they're calling for a state that they never had. They never had. This has to be screamed to the world. Say the truth. It's okay to drive on the road, by the way. We're driving on this road, but after 67 it was fixed up so that even a priest who's not allowed to go through a cemetery can actually go on this road. Some of the graves were redone somewhere else.
So they dug it back up to...
They dug it back up in some places, and some places it's a difficult Jewish law concept. What do you do when there's a grave desecrated? How can you still use the area above? and there are ways that were done to make it still okay to drive on it like we are.
According to Jewish law, yes. Yeah.
According to Jewish law, yeah. But if you're looking back, it's a beautiful view back to the Temple Mount, the Jewish quarter. There's now Jewish life throughout the whole of the old city. Ateret Konim has brought, now there's 1,000 Jewish residents living in what is today called the Muslim Quarter. Literally, we're going to see that when we, after we see this Jewish neighbor on the Mount of Olives, we'll drive back to the Flowers Gate and going through that gate into what's called the Old Jewish Quarter.
Look, Sean, if there's any, we'll do super chats at some point. But if there's any questions that are relevant that you think is important, make
Yeah, I'm
sure.
trying to keep an eye on. I'm keeping an eye on all of that stuff, guys. So
We're about to go into actual walking through. That was the bigger, the wide perspective.
Right, now we'll go into the old city. We're just going to see this Jewish neighborhood. אנחנו נראה את זה, ואז אנחנו חוזרים לשער פרחים. לא הולכים לקדמת ציון. אין צורך. Have a look here. This is not a little house here or there. This is a gated neighborhood, a Jewish neighborhood on the Mount of Olives today, on the left and the right-hand side of the roads. 130 families today live on the Mount of Olives. I call these the vertical Jews. That's Jews now waiting for a bus, both sides of the road. This was probably the biggest, one of the biggest conflicts between, at the time, Israel and America, because it was the middle of Oslo. The failed Oslo concept spoke about dividing up Israel. There was no way Jews should move now behind the Mount of Olives and go this way to live here. That wasn't going to happen. Keep on going to תמשיך עוד קצת, הלאה. We'll just drive back to the Flowers Gate. Did you get footage of the,
Yep.
You want to hop out for a bit? Or?
I think it's fine.
It's enough?
I think
it's fine, yeah.
Okay. אז בוא נחזור לשער פרחים. But the whole world spoke about this. It was united.
This spot.
Oh no, this was. You
What
remember,
year we're talking? Oslo.
this is the beginning of 1990s. Beginning of the 1990s, when the whole world said, there was the left wing in Israel said, let's maybe take a chance with the Arab world. Let's hand away our own land. Let's uproot Jewish cemeteries, destroy Jewish synagogues. For the sake of peace, let's try and make it happen. Even Jerusalem, let's try and make it happen. That's what the left wing here in Israel said. The right wing begged them, don't do this. It's going to lead to bloodshed. It will lead, they didn't say the 7th of October, but the concept they knew. It's going to lead to a worse situation. Missiles will land, and that's exactly what happened. So at this time, the Ateret Konim, we managed to find old Jewish property here that Arabs were living on. It was actually a Jewish guy from Russia that came to live in Israel in the late 1880s, and he wanted to extend a cemetery over there. But they didn't want a cemetery. So the Turkish government allowed him to, and later the British government allowed him to grow wheat. It was agricultural land. But when all this became Jordan, Arabs squatted on the land until Ateret Konim found out about old Jewish property. We then found people in America and Australia and around the world to help us buy back this whole area. And we bought it back, and against the odds, even though it was discussed at the United Nations, the EU, the Arab League, I remember it was actually Benjamin Netanyahu called us into his office in 1995 because there was pressure from Madeleine Albright to say, no, 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 it can't happen. And Yasser Arafat made his famous comment, the only Jews I will ever, this is the head of the Palestinian so-called people, the only Jews I will ever allow in my Al-Quds are those who have been here for generations. Who was he talking about? The dead ones on Mount of Olives. Those could be in his Al-Quds. Well, today he's dead and buried. The Palestinian so-called people is now, the truth has been exposed. It's everything, most of the world, the thinking world, the ethical world, the Judeo-Christian world understands, and even parts of the Muslim world understands what their intention was to destroy the Jewish people and the Jewish state. And we are today, the Lion of Judah has finally risen. That's what this whole thing is about, the 7th of October, is waking up the 40% of the country that thought you could hand away your land to a people that don't exist for the sake of peace that wasn't real. It's not real. I'm happy to make peace with every Arab country like the Arab Emirates, but not at the expense of this tiny Jewish state. That's not happening. So we're going to go now, if it's okay, we're going to go into the old city
Let's do it.
via the Flowers Gate, and then we'll walk through some of the alleyways and go to rooftops, see some of the revival of Jewish life there, thank God. All clear?
I hope you guys are finding this as fascinating as I am. I told you, I didn't do that. I haven't done that tour with you. What I've done is the inside the old city, but I think Daniel is a walking, talking encyclopedia of the history.
Certainly, there's
of-
lots of Israelis that would not
Knowing-
have come to this particular
part.
side of Jerusalem. We
And
just-
why don't you think
Because
that?
you know, for years we've been told that it's just like hugely dangerous. You know, even my wife says you can't go to Jerusalem before a Chag because it's more dangerous. It's like what they've been. The Yemenis have been shooting rockets at me for months. Okay, all right, I'll go to Jerusalem. And
You're actually very safe here because one
That's
thing
what I
they
think.
won't do is fire a missile to the middle of Jerusalem.
Yeah, well, yeah, but missiles I don't care. But just this bit, I've known about this, and like there's videos going back 20 years of cars being stoned here on some of these corners, and in fact, I think I recognise like
Right here, and
this
there was
one,
one right here. Yes.
There was a very famous one with a whole bunch of photographers all lined up taking pictures of
Yeah.
kids, and one particular kid gets hit by a car, and you could see it was staged, and it happened right here because it's ideological. And you know, I've always what Daniel's calling, I've always called it the two-state delusion. The idea that we would give something land and get peace, that was the delusion. It's the mother of all delusions. It was never real. It was never going to happen the way that the left made it out to happen. And we saw that from Gaza.
In a second, we may be able to film. I love always looking at Mount Scopus because Mount Scopus is the symbol of what can happen when you accept the other. On Mount Scopus is the Hebrew University and the Hadassah Hospital. Now that was, even between 1948 and 67, it used to be called Mini Israel within Jordan. Remember, that was still in Jewish hands, but it was physically located inside of Jordan. There was a convoy that used to go to them every so often. But since 67, it's all opened up. There are Jewish neighborhoods built everywhere, and Arabs and Jews teach and learn in the university.
Yeah.
Arabs and Jews are patients and doctors within the hospital. It can work. I'm not saying it can't, but it can't work if you accept hatred, if you accept an Arab that wants to drive you out, and if you cut up your own homeland.
And if you show weakness, when you show weakness,
No, you're eating up for breakfast in this area.
Exactly.
That's it. That's all. That's not going to happen. Israel. If there's anything to happen on the 7th of October, which I call the National ECT, it's the we were woken up big time with the electromagnetic wake-up call in the National ECT. We have to wake up to reality of understanding who we are, what blessings we've got, and great things have happened since then. Of course, we still there are hostages, and we have to go do whatever is necessary to get them back. The world's not helping at all. The world's actually making it worse by siding with the terrorists, and siding with these barbarians. But we have to do whatever's necessary to get them back, destroy Hamas, and ultimately resettle Gaza. All the Arabs have to be taken in by the Arab nations. What the Arab nations haven't done over the last 70 years, it's about time they did it.
Just to clarify again, you say if we apply what you've said until now, you
Yeah.
wouldn't have a problem with Gazans staying if they wanted to join
That's
the
correct,
Israeli
but there's
state there.
100%. But there's one thing that I know because very soon after the 7th of October, there were tons of surveys done throughout the whole of the Gaza. And we're talking 89%, 90% of the Gazans felt pride of the 7th.
I dare say there may have been a shift since then.
Yeah, so. But the shift has only been practical, not because of love of the Jews, because some
Sure,
have
but
woken up.
if people genuinely learnt from that,
תודה רבה.
if people have genuinely learnt from that experience, are you happy for them to stay if they have
If
realised?
someone has realised that following and supporting Hamas,
But also there was 80%, so there's still 20% there.
So, okay.
So those
And they're suffering. In fact, they have been called hostage. They're hostage by Hamas.
No, I just want to, for the viewers, for them to understand that you're not saying I want to drive.
I will never drive out, not a God forbid, a single Muslim Arab. I want them to be here. This country is a Jewish state for Jewish people. It's not a multicultural democratic society, but within the Jewish state there is 100% room for anyone that accepts that Jewish state. I say that and stress that. Unfortunately, there's too many Arabs in the Gaza Strip who haven't. if they've woken up and prepared to teach their kids today not a way to stab a Jew, but to live side by side, then you're welcome to stay in Israel.
Again, I think the application can be applied to Israel, to Australia, where you say everyone is welcome in Australia if they accept our set of values and our Australian way of life, and they're proud of the country for it being Australia, not coming
with
and then joining
Judeo-Christian values, and not trying to make it into some another Islamic state.
Either Islamic Caliphate or an Islamic State, or even coming in there and trying to destroy it with the whole, joining the protests that then are declaring it always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Like, you come to Australia, that whole irony within Australia, to me, is mind-boggling. People who we've welcomed in as the Australian colonisers then come and march and say you need to now destroy the people and the country, the state that actually brought you in. And so I think there are things those concepts, I would apply it across the board, like we said before. Anyways, what were you about to say?
That we have to be very careful about who becomes a citizen of any country in the world.
Exactly.
Because unfortunately, within parts of Islam in the Muslim world, you and I, we're infidels.
Yeah.
We're deemed infidels or monkeys to be driven out or changed.
Not just us, all Christians, all not.
And it's a problem. And if you want to take away the Judeo-Christian values, it's very problematic for of course, countries that have for generations had those values. Anyway,
very loud, but where are we?
We're going into the Flowers Gate. We're very close. We're the gates before the Damascus Gate, which is the gate beyond us. At the end of the road is the Jerusalem municipality. There's one little area here. It's about 150, 200 meters, very busy. It's like Ben Yehuda. The Ben Yehuda side of the other side, very busy Arab area with a very big Salah ad-Din. There's a very big post office here. There's also a yeshiva in this building where there's a post office in the heart of all of this. But we're not going through the Damascus Gate once again. We're going through the Flowers Gate to see the revival of
this
Jewish
is
life.
considered the Muslim Quarter.
We're going to what they call the Muslim Quarter. Of course, it's under Israeli sovereignty. There is no east and west.
But it's a divide. You said it was the English that divided it like that.
The English, but since '67, it doesn't exist.
And also, just for the record, because I remember there was this whole when Candace Owens was debating the quarters of Jerusalem, she was saying that, what was her wording, that she doesn't see Israel as a
Secular?
what?
Was it secular?
No, as a light of I can't remember the exact paraphrasing here. A light of but as a symbol of democracy, because the old city is divided into Muslim quarter, the Christian quarter, Jewish quarter, which means that they have to live there. But that's not where it comes from and what it is.
Not only is she an anti-Semite, she's also ignorant of basic.
She is ignorant, so that's why I think
basic historical facts.
The explanations of the quarters. So
I'll make it very clear. In the 1800s, Jews and Arabs are living together in the old city, which the whole of Jerusalem was only the walled city. There was nothing outside the walls till 1860.
Everything behind us there
doesn't exist.
Was there.
The walled city is all of Jerusalem till 1860.
What we're going in now.
What we're going to now. And in the 1840s, 1870s, Jews and Arabs living together with a Jewish majority of the old city. This is a Turkish census and a British census. If she had half a brain, then she would look up basic information in the 1870s, how many Jews were living here side by side with Arabs. Yes, there was a stage where some of the Muslims were getting frustrated that there were so many Jews here. And in fact, the very first Jew who was killed by an Arab, who is actually, you know how there's a number of soldiers killed?
Yeah.
Every year in Remembrance Day?
Yeah.
How many soldiers killed? When do you think that started? People think it should start, the very first soldier killed in 1948. No. The count started in 1851 when Rabbi Avram Shlomo Zalman Tzorech, before the State of Israel, a Jew was murdered by Arabs, Muslim Arabs, here in the Old City for being a Jew and wanting to rebuild the synagogue called the Churva that existed from the 1700s. So basically there's a Jewish majority in the Old City, what is today called the Muslim Quarter. Then it was called the Mixed Quarter or even the Kotel Quarter, the Western Wall Quarter, because so many Jews wanted to live close to Temple Mount.
When the English redivided it,
then they gave the Muslims 55%. The British couldn't handle the interaction. there was pogroms, there was riots, and they sided with the Muslims. So they gave the Muslims 55%, then the Christian quarter. The Jews got approximately 10% of the whole of the old city called the Jewish quarter, not physically divided by barbed wire or walls.
So today when the Jews
Totally
have
mixed.
it, it's one city, and it's just geographical thingo divides us in,
They're from
and you
Australia.
tend to get the Muslim market or the Muslim areas in that side, then the more Jews are in the Jewish.
But it's totally intertwined, and now it's even more so because we've gone back. Ateret Kohanim
People
has
can
gone
live
back.
in any of them.
You can live in any of them. However, it's difficult for a Muslim Arab to sell to a Jew.
Sure. So
Because
that's
remember,
the
he's-
opposite of what Candace Owens was implying.
No. There are Arabs that are being killed. Landers, what is she?
For
Seriously?
them selling.
For
But
them selling.
they can live in the Jewish quarter. They can live in
They
the
don't
Christian.
ask to. They can theoretically, if they wanted to. They
Anyone
could,
can. There's
they
no
could buy
laws.
anywhere.
There's no
No.
laws divided. Okay. That's all I just wanted to clarify for those that are. I love the old city, and I love it's just this to me is beautiful and ancient, and this is what I love about Israel. It's just you can feel the history.
This is good. Well, we just spoke about it. I probably should have done here, but it doesn't matter. Here's the map of the old city. This is the whole of Jerusalem till 1860. We started at the Jaffa Gate in the very beginning. We've just come into the Flowers Gate, also known as Herod's Gate. This is the Muslim quarter of today. Okay, I'll draw it again. That's the Muslim quarter today. The
So
British
it's
gave them
55%.
something like that, maybe more. Then you've got the Christian quarter, and then you've got the Armenian quarter, and the Jewish quarter. If you don't even include the
smallest.
West, if you don't include the Western Wall, if you don't include the Western Wall and the southern excavations, which is under Jewish hands, then you've got the smallest area called the Jewish quarter. But the old Jewish quarter, where Jews used to live before they were kicked out in the pogroms, the riots, that's the work of Ateret Kohanim, ideological real estate going back to the old. And today there's 1,000 Jews throughout this whole area, gone back to be close to Temple Mount. I believe in something very simple. Every person should have a right to buy freely and to live securely in any neighborhood anywhere in Jerusalem. That hasn't been happening because of the hatred and the intolerance of Jews towards, Jews walking around. See a family, she's walking around. There are cameras throughout the whole of the area which you can't film, but I'll just tell you about them. There are cameras everywhere, 300 cameras. In fact, unfortunately, 2 seminary boys were murdered about 19 years ago before we went to the police and said, listen, there's got to be a certain amount of safety here. And that's when they built a massive surveillance system where they're looking non-stop every day. This is an example of...
What's there? Can I film that?
Can we go in?
Yeah, come in. Every building, of course, has a
You see
mezuzah.
that's the same mezuzah that you had at the front.
Every building has a mezuzah. It's with holy scriptures on the inside. It protects with God's name, the shin, which is one of God's names, Shin Daled Yud, which actually means and God protects the doors of Israel. And every Jewish home basically has one, a Jewish compound. Here there are 2 families living. There's in-house security, there's a playground. I call this area the country club of the old city because it's one of the only areas where the families, there's about 36 families all living within a 2-minute radius walk from here. So they can come here. There's a nursery here for the kids and a playground that the kids can play at. We have about 50 of these compounds throughout the whole of the old city. All part of this revival of Jewish life. I'm not sure if the kids there. You want to film the kids?
It's
They're
there if you're fine.
Let's see if they're
Is there a toilet here? We've got one.
there. Just there. A small bush next to it.
I turned off his mic so we don't have to hear him.
Turn it off.
I turned his mic off so we don't have to hear him peeing.
Shakwa. אהלן, מה נשמע? אנחנו עושים צילומים כאן, אפשר רק ל2 דקות? עכשיו, האזור מאוד חשוב של רוז, גן רוז. במיוחד הזה של המשמר הגבול, אם אתה יכול לוודא שזה נקי, יישר כוח. I thought they'd be playing outside, but anyway, there's a playground, a nursery, and this is one of the, remember the families that all pay rent. The families move in here, there's no shortage of families, even if they're living not in a regular Jewish neighborhood, but it's like Jews and Arabs side by side. There are plenty of Jewish families that want to live here. They have the option to take with them security guards.
And but a lot of people in Israel would be scared to live here.
A lot. I don't know whether, listen, we get used to living in Jewish neighborhoods surrounded by Jews. You have to be motivated, very ideological, and understand the importance of the mission to want to live here. First of all, I mean, your great-grandparents and my great-grandparents would do anything to live in the heart of Jerusalem, close to the Temple Mount. Today, there's political ramifications, there's bad education in the Muslim world, there's a lot of hatred and violence, and therefore we're faced with a number of things that is
Got it.
slightly problematic.
Just check you
But,
got fourth audio coming through.
I can't see that, but it should be, man.
Should come back in a
I'm
sec.
pretty sure it's coming
We
through.
dedicated a
No,
garden.
you just turned it off and on.
Ah,
You can't see it on
hear me.
the...
So you didn't hear me going to the toilet. If
no, we turned that off for the... we don't have that type of audience yet.
What do you look? Oh, you want to look on that. That's,
Well, I can only tell from this. Yeah,
yeah.
everything's working.
Good. Very good.
Guys, we're going to be streaming for a few hours, so we've got to make sure the tech
believe me,
is
though,
working.
if you need, you should probably
I-
because
Can you use the bathroom?
Do you want to use bathroom?
I'm
good.
all right.
No.
okay.
It's a good one?
I'm 55, you know.
Ah,
That's no excuse. I'm 65, so.
60.
So guys, we're just continuing this tour throughout the old Jerusalem.
And we're going to
We're
end
here
up, we'll end at the
within
western
the
wall,
walls.
is it? Is that where we're going to end up?
Yeah.
Because we need the photo of Rukshan. You know the anti-Semites now,
Yeah.
whenever they want to condemn someone, they take, so
They
like
find
Trump, they go, he's
picture of the
like it's
wall.
like they're owned by the Jews when there's the photo of the wall with the kippah on. So that's like the symbol of somebody that's owned by the Jews. So Rukshan wants his photo
You
at
want
the
to
wall.
keep out the wall?
And a kippah, and then we can say we got him.
Come this way.
Well, that's what all the comments have been saying,
Now.
all the
It's
critics.
building to this. That's the
That's it.
crescendo.
Look, hopefully some of the haters who are hate watching can get some education on the real history of this place.
Do you want, you're not drinking, you should
I
drink.
need a drink of water, yeah.
Come here, come.
Yeah, are you getting water?
I'm going to get it. Do you want a drink?
I'll just have a drink,
Let me
man.
get my cards.
Yeah.
I'll get the water.
Hope you're enjoying the stream, guys. Something different, of course.
What do you
Well,
want?
you know, on the ground
That's not
tour
a problem.
from Jerusalem, from Israel.
You want water?
Thought you guys might find it interesting. I'll get a drink.
I'm going to get, what do you want, a Sprite?
Just give me a,
a
if it's
mouse,
cold,
okay?
man, a Sprite. Whatever cold.
Yeah,
first time for me, so I'm very much
What is
paying
it?
attention to
Did I have, oh, here.
historical
Oh, מחר?
aspects of the tour, for sure, which I'm very interested in. But
Do you want something?
אני שנים כאן.
your comments are coming through, guys.
Sprite, yeah.
כן.
So if you want to do any super
Oh, wait,
chats,
I'm
you
gonna
can.
get a bill.
We'll definitely be reading out those comments. So if you have any questions for our guides here,
It's fine. I
ask them
suppose.
as well
Mahar.
those questions via super chat. Other questions, unfortunately, I don't know if we'll be able to go back on them on the phone. Avi might be able to.
אז
If I pick one up
אני...
now while I'm waiting for my drink,
You're gonna be hearing their mics, you know that.
yeah.
הצלחה רבה.
It's all right.
אוקיי. תמסור לו דרישת שלום מדניאל שבא
Thanks,
לכאן,
guys. Some
אם
people
אתה
saying they're
זוכר.
enjoying the stream. Look, guys, it's
Daniel,
something
do you want
different, right?
something?
No, I'm probably going to get something, it's fine.
And we might actually end up doing more of these around the world and wherever, like really up to the people that we meet and the tour that they give. I know I see a lot of disagreement with some of the stuff in the comments that people are saying that they don't agree with it. That's fine. That's how it is. We're getting a perspective
It's
from
like
this individual.
3-4 shekels cheaper. No, it's fine. No, it's fine.
I'll get you a drink.
No, it's fine. Come on, there.
From on the ground. So we're not really, there's not like we're not tuning into some, expert somewhere at a university in some country in the West. We're here on the ground in Israel, in Jerusalem, hearing from someone on the ground what their perspective is on the history here.
אין לך אשראי? Do you have cash on you?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll fix you up out there. So I was here offering him to pay for his one, and then I don't have cash. לא צריך שקית, תודה. Thanks, bro.
See how cheap it is? It's not normal.
How much was that? I didn't even know. Yeah, it's way cheaper than the.
not-
This is cheaper than
Small
way
one-
cheaper than the Jewish
a
quarter.
small water is 3 shekels. This is...
We paid.
כמה
we
זה
paid
הבקבוק
more.
הגדול?
In the-
6 shekels.
In the Jewish
Quarter of the price of,
in the shuk, we pay like 8 shekel for a little one.
Now, he's paying the same rates like anyone else over there. He's just not making as much profit.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
That was half
That's
the
6
price.
shekel. That's
I
it.
know.
Yeah.
I need to drink this water. Oh, it's getting. Leave it. What's in the bag? All right, let's keep going.
Hey, bro, can you hold this for a little bit? I'm just gonna have my drink.
Yeah, give me.
I can do that. Hold on. Give it to me. Let me get both of you.
I'm gonna do it.
Yes.
Make sure
Have
no
to not
cables
fall
come out.
over.
All right, I'm free. We found our Benji
right,
here
well-
in Israel. Benji of
Has it
England,
got- has
Benji
it
of
got-
London.
Have you? This one looks like it's dead. Or
No, that one's all right. We're just using that one.
Who have you got it thingo to?
It's just
Just
wide.
doing a wide shot of
Ah,
both
good.
of you.
I'll be back, man. I'm just gonna have my drink.
Yeah, he always does this.
I'm fine
Has
with
a
this.
drink.
This is quite fun, really.
If you're having fun,
And don't
Yeah.
be careful what you say. You're
you,
having fun.
you can have
doing.
fun
I
for the
just-
whole stream if you want.
The only thing I have to try and not do is break another ankle on these.
Yeah, don't. We're not worried about the ankle. We're worried about
Are
the
you not?
equipment.
It's not going live.
It is. It's
This
still
is
live.
live.
It's live.
The whole time it's live.
Ah,
Always live.
Everything is live. But it's recording as well. But this is live. There are people watching on all different platforms.
well, just to remind everyone, we're walking through the old Jewish quarter, which is today called the Muslim quarter. 300 cameras throughout the whole of the old city, and we're going to different compounds and
Are there
places.
incidents here, in recent
Nearly
times?
no.
Nearly no.
Nearly
That's
no.
because of the security structure that they set up.
It's not just because of the security structure, it's because we've got 1,000 Jewish residents now living here. It's strength of numbers. The last time there was a serious incident here, one of our rabbis was murdered actually. It happened on Simchat Torah. There was a woman whose husband was just murdered by a Muslim Arab, and it happened under a building where the rabbi was living.
Yeah.
The rabbi grabs his gun. His wife quickly follows him downstairs. His kids are watching from the window, and as he comes out the door, the Arab is still waiting behind the door, stabs him. The wife is screaming and crying. The kids are smashing on the window and crying upstairs. The father's rolling on the ground. Unfortunately, before the Border Patrol police could get there, it was too late, and their
When
rabbi
was
was
this?
killed. 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago.
So that's the last major incident here.
Yeah, in this area,
Yeah,
there was another South African guy that was a tour guide that was murdered in the Shuk about 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
In the
But
shuk here.
otherwise, yeah, but otherwise very, very
So the
quiet.
shuk here, Rukshan, is the old city market. That
Yeah.
that was the one I described to
question
you,
I had.
which is mainly Arab.
Yes, yeah, but everyone was. It's a regular touristy Shuk.
Yeah.
Massive building. It's a huge building now in Jewish hands. It's a beautiful building. In fact, this whole area, there's one building here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's in some ways, it's like the Jewish quarter. Depending on how many families live there, this one was owned by the first banker in Israel
Ravi?
that came in 1835 from the Valero family. No. Shalom, מה נשמע?
Sorry for the coughing, guys. I was too excited to drink the water that I
You alright, Ben?
Yeah.
choked myself.
A beautiful, quaint courtyard here in the old Jewish quarter. As I said, it was owned by the first banker. This is the Valero family. They were kicked out by the Spanish, who don't love Israel even today. Unfortunately, something shocking. But what the Spanish president or prime minister doesn't understand today is that they may have kicked the Jews out in the expulsion of 1492. Then we didn't have a state of Israel. Today we have a state of Israel, so he can do and claim and declare.
So he moved here after he was kicked out of Spain.
He was kicked out of Spain. They first went to the Scandinavian countries, then he ended up in Constantinople. And in 1835, he comes here. He opens up the first bank in Jerusalem called the Valero Bank. There was their own currency, very well known amongst the Jews and the Christians. But when the pogroms came, there were some Jews that basically were just kicked out altogether. Other Jews, they saw the writing on the wall and sold out altogether. He was a bit astute and felt the atmosphere wasn't right. He sold out altogether. So when we bought this building back, it was owned by some Arabs. The Arabs who were living here, though, were protected tenants. It's an old British law that was taken on. I'm not going to get into it. It's a bit too complicated. But they had protected tenancy rights. So there was now, once again, Jewish owners, but there were Arabs living here. The Arabs changed over the years, and about 12 years ago, there were 3 Arab families living here, 1, 2, and 3. They hated each other. They were like brothers. I think they were brothers, didn't get along whatsoever. 2 of them sold out altogether, and the 3rd one didn't sell out. Didn't sell. He was no longer a protected tenant, but nevertheless, the organisation had to organise or facilitate Jews to buy him out in order to get the building properly back, because there were no longer rights, but he was living here, so therefore had to be bought out. He had Hamas flags, PA flags, Muslim writing, but in the Arab street, he was like the hero, didn't sell out like his other brothers. But of course, the courts ultimately ruled against him. He had no rights here. So he had to leave. He had to pay court costs, but he was let off the court costs if he left quietly one day, which he did. And today there's Jewish families living there. There was one family living in 28 square metres until they had 2 children, in 28 square metres. So we moved them to a slightly bigger apartment of 45 square metres. When they got to having 9 children, we did an adopt a family project, and now they're living in a slightly bigger apartment. There's a beautiful family up top there, the Weinberg family. I mention their name only because they're very well known, unfortunately for sad reasons. About 4 years ago, there was a shooting, once again by Muslim Arabs, when Jews were coming out of a synagogue on a Friday night in Neve Yaakov. On that same Sabbath, there was a family, this family was walking around the city of David, and an Arab boy, 13 years old, started shooting up the whole family. The father quickly turns around to grab his gun. He gets shot through the stomach. Ended up being in hospital for a day. It was very light, but he ends up laughing that he's got 3 belly buttons. That's 1, 2, and 3. So that was him. The son, who was an elite unit of the army, no one's ever going to really know how he managed to shoot the Arab boy who was shooting up this whole family, but he managed to grab his gun, but he ended up himself being shot through the chest. But his gun was the one that got the Arab boy, but he got shot through the chest. Maybe the split second as he got shot, before he got shot, he was in hospital. He had hemorrhaging in the brain. He had an infection in the heart. He lost litres of blood. It was, I remember it was a Wednesday morning, and the family sent out a message, please, prayers. I don't know if he's going to make it through the day, with issues both in the brain and the heart. He was in a coma. You have to look on the internet. His name is Nadav Weinberg. 3 days after this Wednesday morning, on that Sunday afterwards, he walks to the Kotel in his uniform to the cheering and singing of his this elite unit.
Wow.
It's unbelievable.
So he survived it.
He survived it. He came out of the coma, managed to get through everyone thought he was gone, and I think he just got married a few months ago, back in the army, and he's the son of the.
And I think it's an important point because in one of the interviews it's brought up, Rukshan, in the Knesset when we were talking about it.
Yep.
Which is still to come. Those we didn't do live, but that you're talking about a 13-year-old boy shooting. So when we talk about women and children in Gaza that are killed, of course people are getting killed in the crossfire. Of course there is babies that are killed. No one's denying that, but we also don't know how many of them are child soldiers.
Yeah.
Child
I mean,
fighters.
radicalized child soldiers are a problem in many theaters of
It's
war.
huge because you end up dying.
Yeah, because that's why they radicalize the children, because they can get rid of that filter completely between, what's considered a human life, and they can just do stuff on command.
There's one of our families here was in a situation. He himself got hit with an RPG. The situation was there were 2 kids on bikes that were riding around one of the alleyways when his unit was coming down one particular street. They were trying to find an unrise building. There were kids on bikes that were driving around in this crazy situation, getting information. They didn't know shoot or not shoot. They don't shoot. Within 30 seconds, their location has been found out, and there's RPGs everywhere. It's a really problematic situation. Some of these civilians, first of all, they've been educated to hate and to kill. They've been used and abused by Hamas. And it's an impossible situation that Israel finds itself. When they talk about human shields, it's very real. It's not just human shields.
It's not necessarily standing just
No,
behind
no,
them.
no.
It's using them
It's using, it's abusing, it's making sure they can't leave if they want to leave. There's plenty of our Gazans there who are probably like that guy from the Arab Emirates I spoke about earlier. That all they want to do.
That's what I was saying. That's
who
what I was
wanna
saying
live
to
in
you.
peace.
And those are the ones that you're happy for them to stay.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, at the moment, Gaza, I don't know what's going to happen with Gaza. Gaza, unfortunately, has been used, I think, for too many years as a political pawn. Like a lot of the Arabs have been used against, let's not take them into the 21 Arab countries, 22 Arab countries. Let's lead them in order to constantly have a go at Israel as a knife, as a two-state solution. For what? They have to be taken in by they have to be taken in by the Arab world. It may be 70 years too late, but it has to be done. It can't be done in Gaza. I mean, Gaza, first of all, the only way to rebuild Gaza, first of all, you have to lower the ground level 25 or 30 or 40 metres for a start. There's 500 kilometres, they believe, maybe even more, of tunnels underground. Israel has destroyed what? We think it's such a big deal every so often. It's great what they're doing. A kilometre here, a kilometre there. There's hundreds of kilometres. So to even rebuild everything, I'm not even sure how it's going to happen. Anyway, this is a beautiful courtyard. Today we have 4 families living here. There is a project, of course, to utilise this area here to extend 2 tiny apartments to make more space. But this is one of the compounds. Remember, we're in the old Jewish quarter where Jews have gone back to. There's now 1,000 Jews here with 4 centres of Jewish learning, yeshivas, and about 95 families that have gone back to the area. Now, I would normally take people, whether it be press or otherwise, to a building called the House of the Photographer after this particular building. For years, it was the most unbelievable views, looking over everything. It's called the House of the Photographer, not actually because of good pictures, but because the founder of the organisation, Mati Dan, 25 years ago was looking for a photographer that owed us pictures. Someone in the office tries to call up and couldn't find them. So what happened was, the founder says, give me the phone number, I'll call a bit later. He dials up, and this is the photographer that lived in the Jewish quarter. He goes, and he speaks in Hebrew, but I'll translate. So, is this the photographer from the Jewish quarter, from the Old City? The guy at the other end of the phone answers in English, and he says, I live Old City, but not photographer here. What do you want, please? What do you want, please? So he could tell straight away this is an Arab living in the Old City. So as a half joke, he said, I'd love to buy your house. He says, who told you we sell? You Jew or Arab? Jew. Not to discuss any details with the Jew over the phone. Meet me. He met him and his father at a coffee shop. The guy says if we can get for him a job in Manhattan, he's always wanted to live in Manhattan, we can buy his place. So we spoke to a guy that owns hotels in Manhattan, shipped him and his wife and his 2 kids overseas, and to this very day, that guy's working in this hotel. Mati Dan accidentally dialed the wrong phone number, and instead of getting the photographer, he ended up getting this Arab who wanted to move overseas. So we called his building the House of the Photographer, and it's got a beautiful view also, looking over everything. Yep. But today we don't take people there because we've managed to get a building which is 7 metres higher than the House of the Photographer. It's probably the tallest or second tallest building in the whole of the city. The only thing you have to worry about is, how do I film 360 degrees? Yeah. It's like that. It's phenomenal.
We usually have a 360 camera, but not today.
Not today?
We didn't bring it today. No, you probably. Oh no, you don't have.
I didn't bring it
That's
today.
the mount.
So you do quickly a panorama.
We do it like
We'll do a panorama.
We do have a 360 camera, but you don't put the whole. You have to pan anyway.
You have to pan anyway. That's
It just gives you, when you go to like situations where it can be
a bit dicey.
So
you
it's
want
capturing everything,
You want
and
everything.
then you're able to cut into, like if somebody comes at you from the side later, you can capture that because obviously the camera's facing this way, and people often attack me from the side.
Right.
So then later we capture it, and
Gotcha.
like the other week where they denied hitting me, and
you
I
had it.
kind of believed them. And then later, like in the footage,
can
like
see
when my
360
security
damage.
jumped in and tackled the guy, he's like, "What are you talking about? I didn't do anything." And my security was like, he did. And I kind of, being naive, I guess, still, I believed this guy because he was just so straight saying it, so confidently.
Right.
And then later when we were producing it, it was like, no, he literally walked past and then went boom to my head and then walked away, and my security tackled him. But that's 360. Anyways, we've gone way off.
No, so the
Has
police.
it been there?
So the police use our buildings in order to do that. Just
He's
like
having
you,
too much fun.
Make
Just
sure you're
wanna
not
stand in
touching
the
anything
shade.
that's...
just like you needed the 360 degrees. So the
man.
police love our buildings, and they put on our buildings cameras so they can see everything happening all around the old city. We have arranged with the police. They love the fact that we're all over the
Look,
place.
usually I'd be anti all the surveillance thing, but
Well, here it's a
unfortunately
must.
in the old city,
Here there's
it's
no choice.
survival. Do you want the bin or you not?
I want the bin, yes.
That's what I kept telling him. The microphone must be. Just make sure, because
Still working,
anything,
right?
anything you touch
I haven't
is.
touched anything. Well,
I'm happy to take over again, man. It's up to you. You can keep
no,
going if you
let's
have.
get you stay in the frame a little bit. You walking in the old city. It's
Mate.
a big deal.
It's a big deal, huh?
Yeah.
It's great to be here in the old city of Jerusalem.
And this is kind of the quiet part of it, I feel.
Well, it's a quiet part of the day for a start.
Okay.
It's a part of the day,
look
and
down.
also
How can I tip this down a little bit? It's
Oh,
too
the-
high. Or just physically do
You've
it.
got to change
Change
one.
the-
You've got to go from
Okay,
Zoom.
Now
to,
it's going to move. Or zoom.
No, I'll turn the zoom off. 1 second.
you got to go between Zoom and
Okay.
yeah. So it's the same button, but you got to
Got it.
flip the.
Yeah, it's. Then I can.
how long are you in town for?
We are early next week, yeah. But we're filming a lot, so we're going to have content. That's right, IsraelUncut.com, guys. We have heaps of stuff we're filming, producing, so that might come out for.
It's been a bit non-stop, right?
Yeah,
Every
we've
day.
been non-stop, and we had dramas. When we got here, the airline lost our bags, so
Whoa.
it's supposed to be coming today. So we've had to buy clothes. We had to buy some of our equipment with
You
stuff.
want me to give you some stuff?
No, it's
Yeah, we're all this thing,
yeah.
What are you laughing for?
I'm
You're laughing because.
Because
Oh, I forgot
I'm-
that I'm on the.
Yeah, you
Okay,
can
sorry.
remember this hotline.
Yes, family. So one family above us, 4 families over there. There's about 9, 10 compounds in the area, but we're going now to the House of the View. Although the families in the area, they don't call it the House of the View,
What do they call it?
the House of Nehemiah. The big investor, the ideological investor behind it, he calls it the House of the View, as we do officially.
Yeah.
But the families call it House of Nehemiah because that was the name. Remember I told you about 7 years ago, there was a rabbi that was murdered?
Yes.
His name was Rabbi Nehemiah Lavi.
Ah.
And what happened was the Arabs succeeded in driving out a family, killing the rabbi, the father, and the family couldn't handle being in the old city, so we lost the family. So what, if you were running Ateret Konim, what would be your response to that murder?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It was like a.
You drove out one.
a symbolic-
We're here to stay. We
Yeah.
will add another 4 or 5, whatever it is, as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So this building we're about to go to now, called the House of the View, was the response
To the
soon
killing.
after to the murder. We're
Okay.
not leaving here. You think you can drive out the Jews?
Yeah.
No. We're here and we'll double and triple our presence. So this was like, watch your head if you're coming this way, we're going this way. And that's why they call it.
Look at this. This is perfectly built
This
for
is,
me.
uh,
You can
made for
tell
Ali.
I'm indigenous to this place
Oh,
by
Go stand this. I'm gonna take a photo of the height.
this is proof that I am an indigenous.
Your cousin's town planning.
Look at that, top to bottom. The whole of Avi Yemeni.